Hi, hello, welcome to the stream. Let me just see if everything's up and running like it should. Boom, boom. Dum, 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 da, da, dum. Great, need to get chat. Awesome. Great. And then I wanted to change, let me just see here. Cool. Yeah. So welcome back to the stream. I just had a nice lunch and a nice long walk. I think now I'm going to be primarily just looking at literature, actually. I want to find some up-to-date literature on work psychology that I can start my thesis with. Should be great. Everything seems to be working just fine here. Dum, bum, ba, da, da, dum, dum, da, da, dum. Great. Awesome. Okay. Do not know if I need my PC to get in here, but let's see. I think I'll go to the National Research Center for Work Environment, see if anything's on there. It's a bit hard writing when I have like my microphone right here. Cool. Let's just pin the message here. Awesome. And the sound works? Yeah, it does. Great. Boom, 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 boom. So I can see that the Danish... Oh, hello, Birdbanes. Welcome back. I'm currently reading on... seeing if I can find some new research here in Denmark regarding stress in the working population. The weather was so great outside. I had a long walk. It's like... actually not sure. I believe it's like 50... It's only 11 degrees outside Celsius. But it felt like 20. That's so good. Just experienced something weird. Visited a channel and the streamer asked me question generated by chatbot. Huh. So like a game show, or like they were pretending that they were asking the questions and it was a chatbot. Seems like a curious idea though. Having a chatbot psychoanalyze someone, that's kind of funny. Bum, 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 bum. That's funny. Funny that it was put on some of the time. Psychoanalysts in general is like it's a bit weird direction of psychology. I'm way more into like the cognitive psychology, behavioral therapy, and so on. But some people really subscribe to the idea of psychoanalysis. So, you know, it's up to them. I just think, especially the Freud directions are like a bit extreme in their assumptions regarding your relationship to your parents and so on. Not a psych major or professional, he's just a screenplay writer. Hey, that's still funny, I don't think you have to be a psychologist to use to make funny ideas with psychology. Not at all. Screenplay writer. That's a cool career though. If you had known your replies would be fed into the chatbot, I wouldn't have participated. You know, that's a decent point. That maybe if the structure is made like that, you should maybe have a disclaimer as a pinned message, just like I have the welcome to the stream pinned message. Maybe like a disclaimer in there, so that people know what's going on. But then again, you know, as soon as you chat anything anywhere, really, it's fed into into AI models. No matter if it's legal or not. That's the general truth of the internet currently. Didn't need him to be go-between. That's a decent point. I think some people have done like cool stuff with AI though. When there's a streamer, what is he called? Doug, I believe. D-O-U-G. He's done like some different stuff where chat has to interact with an AI, but then it's like a larger chat, so that it's like a collective against the AI. That makes some funny interactions sometimes. But I think if we're just feeding individual chatters into an AI, I can see that it doesn't really do much. It's just the same as if you'd been chatting with the AI yourself. Yeah, psychoanalysis isn't up to par yet. I think psychoanalysis is actually unreliable, even amongst human therapists. But that's my personal opinion. But I think it's based on a lot of assumptions regarding causal relations, and I'm not exactly a huge fan of psychoanalysis on that basis. And I think the good therapists within psychoanalysis are actually the ones who are able to quickly change their approach when they figure out that they are wrong or partially wrong, that they are quick to like recognize it and in Danish we call it to resaddle the horse. I agree, but the streamer trusted it so much. You know what? There are many therapists that trust psychoanalysis very much. Because if you told me about some of your problems, I would be able to like confidently, from a Freudian perspective at least, say which one of your parents you have issues with, and you might very well not have an issue with any of your parents. So you meant the chat, but yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm. It's always this space song. I actually thought I'd gotten rid of the classic songs and just went straight to Nintendo music, but not entirely, it seems. Wouldn't Nintendo music be distracting? I have it quite low in the noise levels, so I don't find it too distracting. I think if I could find like some lo-fi music that I was confident wasn't copyrighted, then I might have chosen that instead. Some like slow mellow jazz or something like that. But I know for certain that this music is free to use because it's a project by another streamer that has stated that it is made to be free to use for everyone. So that's my main motivation for using this music specifically. It's heavily inspired by Animal Crossing, as far as I know. There are so many specific articles and very, very few like general articles within the mental health work environment field right now. It's a bit annoying. What are your thoughts about people being scatterbrained, both in speech and train of thought? Speak a lot and fast and rarely remember what they said. ADHD. I think it's at least consistent with a lot of the symptoms of ADHD. So you'll probably see this these symptoms in people with ADHD. I think it's also a matter of us using a lot of technology that requires our attention on a lot faster basis, so that you don't, you're like geared towards being quick, and always, you know, the stimuli has to be go out of your mouth quickly. I think it's generally bad, and that we should strive towards being a bit slower in general. It doesn't hurt anything. It's not like we're productive by being fast anyway. And I think that like modern the modern world in forms of, you know, telephones, social media, and so on is generally on short form media especially is just training us to be more ADHD like, very much in quotations, but it is definitely increasing the symptoms from ADHD in people who are also healthy, and of course worsening it a lot in people who actually have ADHD. Style, if you can call it that, seems to leave very little time for introspection and deliberation, internally, externally. Yeah, I agree. But it's hard, right? Because, for example, streaming, well, if I sit here, if I'm silent for too long because I have to think about something, then it's hard to keep the attention of someone watching. So it's like also I would almost call it like a marketplace where I'm not an attractive product if I do not give quick stimuli and good stimuli. Of course, right now I'm just studying, so it's not like people come here for like the top of the top in terms of stimulation, but I think there is a thing with like the largest streamers that they have to be like on. They have to be quick, and the quality with which they respond is actually probably defined more by the whether or not they react extremely, more than if they give a concise answer. That's at least my thoughts. But yeah, it's hard. Get a lot of literature on welding fumes and muscle joints. Not exactly what I was looking for. Let's see if this helps me. Kind of a report from 2026. That's like as new as they come. Just trying to figure out if that last streamers had traits of it. He blurted out questions after questions, speaking in between them when struggling to type out the reply. That's as you know, it's a good point, but it's also a question of if he's trying to keep up with like every single chatter. It's probably a high burden that he has to go through, and he probably does not realize that speaking slower and like just ignoring some chat messages might be a better end result for the general viewer. So yeah, I think that's a thing that you have to be aware of, but that's like a part of the skill of streaming. It was just you there, you know what, fair, then he might just be a quick dude, someone who is turned up a lot. Like I get it a bit. I've been streaming for sometimes several hours where no one looks by, and then of course for some people I believe it's a bit exciting when someone comes by the stream. I'm also happy to see people come by and you know, chat. But you know, if you really just want to make it, then I can definitely see that you want to entertain every single chatter as much as possible. Then you might end up overcompensating a bit. But I wouldn't necessarily say that indicates that someone has ADHD. It might very well just be that they are getting overexcited because they're trying to perform in a special way. Too much caffeine? Might be. Might be too much cocaine. Might be none of the two. Might be that they're tired. Might be that they are fresh. It might be a lot of things, really. And again, it might also just be excitement, or yeah, it's hard to say. They might know it themselves if they sit down and think about it. But for a lot of people, I think that they get really excited when people turn into their streams. I think you need at least like 15 or 20 active chatters before you can start ignoring people and just, you know, pick the message that you want. But until then, you have to like perform to a certain level. Yeah. Internal calmness. He seems running all over the place. Yeah, but you know, some people are like that. Both healthy people and people with ADHD. But yeah, I get it. You know, so some streamers are just not what you were looking for. I have some people that I enjoy watching the streams of, and then I have some other people where I only watch their YouTube videos because I do not like the style that the stream turns out, and that the editing process like fixes a lot of that. I was hoping this report and used a lot more sources. That's annoying. Is the weather good where you're at, Bird Pains? In Denmark, it's wonderful. Like the sky is entirely blue, and it's way warmer than it has been basically all year. My walk was so nice. Weather? It's warm in Singapore now. Ah, nice. Isn't it like kind of warm all year in Singapore? 32°, that's not just warm, that's hot. In Denmark, it's 11 Celsius. But just the fact that the sun is shining a lot and that there's no wind makes it warm in my eyes. But of course, you still need like a small jacket. Yeah, kind of warm most year, turns cooler between December early March, then it's warm and humid for the rest of the year. Sag. Isn't that the famous speech from your president, where he says like I turned this what is it? I turned this from a marsh to a metropolis. Any ruler of Singapore must have that iron in him, or something like that. Does that sound right? It's something along those lines. Your leader is quite the character. He's pretty famous. Island nation of the equator, urbanization retains heat more in recent years. Temps were cooler when I was a child back in the 80s. I'd believe that. I'd believe that. But Singapore has gone through like a lot of development since the 80s. I'd guess. There must really have been large changes where you're from during your lifetime. Like in Denmark, my parents were alive in like a country that looks extremely much like the country looks today. Few buildings have gotten taller. Copenhagen, of course, has boomed, but like most of the other cities are like pretty identical. Bam, 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 bam. You like the temps during autumn? Yeah, I like the temps in Denmark during spring and fall. So where it's like a place between 10 and 20 degrees. I'd prefer it around 15 degrees Celsius, but I'm a very warm person. I get hot easily. I can tolerate up to 30, but much higher than 30, then I begin becoming uncomfortable. Then I prefer to stay in the like the shadow and go inside more and eat ice cream. Guess everyone hates summer, at least when it's too hot. Here in Denmark, most of the summers is quite tolerable though. We rarely get past 30. It's mostly in the 20s. Don't really think that literature on here is that good. Trying to find like a search term that fits my literature search well. The search engine is really not what I need it to be. I was going to call it something bad, but yeah, at least it's not performing what I want. I'm actually not Bert Baines. It's quite unfortunate, but in Denmark during the last like 15 years, we have actually allocated less and less money to the universities, which also means that in my case, because I'm writing my thesis by my own, I'm not required to defend it, and actually I'm not allowed to defend it. It will just go through a review by my supervisor and by someone else. If I had been writing it with someone else, then I would be required to defend it, because then it would be two people writing it, and they would have to ensure that both people knew what is even in the thesis, I suppose. But yeah, at least for psychology at the university which I'm at, we do not have it like that, unfortunately. Really unfortunate. I think that it would be cool to have a chance to defend my thesis. But you know, it is what it is. Not much to do there. When I did my diploma in fine arts, we had to then defend our artworks, called critic session, evaluate our journals and choice of materials, styles, techniques, and general motivations. Yeah. That's awesome, really. I think it's a bit unfortunate that we are not going to do that, but again, there's not much to do on that front. We just have to live with it. It's kind of crazy that you study for what is it, 5 years, and don't have to defend your work when you're done. Here's about the image on the screen. Is that a candle or a bowl of soup? It's bubbling. It's actually just a huge cup of coffee. But you know, you're great options, really. It's a huge cup of coffee. You know, it's like the crema, the light stuff on top when you make like espresso, stuff like that. It's just one of the basic like images that you can get on, what is it called, on PowerPoint in the online library, because again I figure that they don't really care if I steal their intellectual properties. I generally try to avoid and to use AI art, and generally try and avoid using people's artwork where I don't have their permission. But in the case of stuff that is free on my PowerPoint, I don't really care stealing it. It's fine. Don't drink coffee. Haven't liked anything after my grandma passed away. She made coffee that just tasted perfect. Now I'm a tea drinker. Oh, I'm sad to hear that your grandma passed away. It's always sad to lose people that you're close to. Tea is also great though. I do love, I basically love drinking everything. Tea, coffee, wine, whatever. Water, of course. Generally don't drink much soda though. I specified for this search engine that I wanted stress, like psychology stress. And then it's talking about oxidative stress and hypotension. That's like an engineering term. Jesus. Annoying. Let me see if I can use this thing. Log in. I'm just going to try and use either PubMed or one of the other places for material. Let me just log in here. Were the prompts not specific enough? I believe they aren't, but I'm actually having a hard time making a good prompt that doesn't like remove 90% of articles whilst still getting relevant results. Because if I narrow it in too far, then I get problems. On the other hand, then I end up like with one article from 2010, and I already have great articles from 2005. I'm trying to find a newer article that I can like take my starting point in. Maybe you need to specify the stress chemicals for it to take a hint. Yeah, but then I think it goes too far into neuroscience. That might also be a problem, because I'm not interested in like cortisol and adrenaline and noradrenaline in this in my thesis here. It's of course relevant, but it's not something that I think the research articles are using. They might very well be partially economic instead, and talking about the economic consequences of sick leave. So it's very hard for me to just find the right search terms. But let's see, because our university actually has an AI assistant to help searching for articles. I'll just see if I can prompt that. Yeah, it found a bunch of articles. Great. Prevalence and associated factors of stress and anxiety among female employees in an industrial park in Ethiopia. That's a bit too specific. I have something related to COVID. That's not horrible. Costs to... Because I need an article talking about like the causes of stress and anxiety from work, not regarding the consequences. I have an article here called The Neurobiological Effects of Work-Related Stress. It's not horrible, but it's not exactly what I want. Maybe just search for the symptom. Yeah. Right now I'm trying to search. This is actually I found an article here written by my supervisor. That's kind of funny. But it's just a protocol though. But they might be using some good sources though. This was the person who was my supervisor whilst I was on an internship. This might be good. See here, what is it called? And this is also within the field of occupational psychology. I think this might be a good Freedom Collection Journals, SCFCJ. Stress does do strange things to people. It's not lowered inhibition per se, but more like overflowed the rim of what the person can tolerate. I completely agree. Funnily enough, stress is a phenomena that actually makes us perform better, but it's really meant for limited use, as so many other things are. So when you do it too much, then it starts screwing up a lot of things in your body. It screws with your heart, it screws with your digestive system, it ruins your sleep, it makes you cognitively decline, it has a long list of consequences, which is in itself quite cool. Trying to this article. SD Freedom. Is there a best way to relieve stress professionally? Massage, time out, how long? There are actually lots of research on this, but basically you need to stop working. That's like the general best way. If you really get sick from stress, like where you end up in a situation where you basically cannot work, then you have to go off of work. And what we as psychologists, at least where I was in my internship, we recommended that you stay off work until that you see consistent betterment. I'm missing a word here. Like that you consistently see that you're doing better over at least a couple of weeks, where you feel that you are basically back to normal. And only then will we recommend that you start getting back into work. And for this, we recommend that you start 2 or 3 days a week, and then slowly increase the amount of work that you do. But of course, this is like a luxury that it's not affordable to everyone. But at least if your workplace really likes you, then the optimal route would be to give you a break until you're ready to start again, and then that might be a few months, and then let you slowly get back into the workplace. But ultimately, that might mean that you are off of work for almost half a year in total. More reason for AI to replace white collar workers. Yeah, AI doesn't need a day off. Completely true. It's a bit sad, but it's true. I cannot find this article. Here it is. Great, I found it. Finally. Jesus. That took too long. Verify that I am a human. I am indeed a human. This looks like it is the right thing. Just download this article right. Isn't it quite late in Singapore currently then? Or are you only a few hours ahead of me here in Europe? I think that it would almost be night where you're at. I might be wrong. (12:10 a.m.) Yeah, so it's past midnight, right? Yeah, okay. That fits like generally what I thought the time should be. Then it is quite late. Do. Bling 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 bling. Dun, dun. Yep, they have a lot of good sources here. I found just the right thing. That's awesome. Another exciting article. This ain't half bad. Dum, 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 dum. Leave it to your research. We'll try and drop by next time. Yeah, of course. You have a nice night. I will just be sitting here and reading. So not much exciting going on anyway, but feel free to drop by and have a nice night. Da, da, da. I'll just go and grab something to drink. Ram, pam, pam, pam. Merge stream bitrate a bit too high. Weird. Not much to do about that. Might actually try and use one of my books. I have like a Norwegian book that is quite decent. Awesome. Okay. Let's have a look at this. Organisation og ledelse. That sounded more Swedish than Norwegian, to be honest. Bling, 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 bling. Chapter 5. Here. Right. The largest problem is that this is a teaching book and not necessarily up-to-date research. Mm. Dum. Dum, da, da. A lot of the studies here are regarding COVID. It's a bit annoying. And then we have like the Lazarus and Folkman definition, but that's like decades old. The stress, that doesn't work much either. I wanted to see if they had some studies they were referring to, preferably not too specific. You know what? The weather is so great, so I actually think that I might be pulling the plug now and then just go and read outside. That might be much more attractive. So yeah, if there aren't any like closing questions, then I think I'll just get going. That might be the call, really. Of course, if you are watching right now, feel free to follow, and then I will probably be back tomorrow. That is highly likely, as far as I know. But of course, no promises. But yeah, let's see. Yep, I think I'll be closing this down. I hope you all have a great evening or morning or whatever it is where you are at.